Welcome back to Advocacy, Alchemy with Professor Ross. Today we have a good one, guys. Today we're diving into a wild, high-speed chase that ended with stop sticks and a pit maneuver. This body cam and radio chatter show the risk of high-speed chases, not just for the suspect, but also for officers and us in the public. This stop happened along I-95 in Volusia County, Florida. With that, let's jump in.
Our traffic guy's got to be headed westbound on 40.
Back on 95. Smoke farm southbound. Stop stick, stop stick, stop stick, stop stick hit, stop stick hit. Stop stick hit on Smoke Farms Road, 110. Southbound on 95. He's losing speed. 95 miles an hour.
You think you can get him with a pit toward the straightaway here? We're going too fast.
He's going to lose it here in a minute. He's losing speed.
Alright, stay back. We got the cavalry behind you. Spanish, I would have hit him. You want to get him or you want me to get him?
Go ahead.
12 Alpha 55 to Port Orange Sergeant. Can I assist on 95? We got plenty of people. Clear the air. Pit, pit, pit. Williamson overpass. Pit in the median.
Anybody else in there? No. All right. No, sir. On the ground. On the ground. On the ground. Can I just ask you a question? What the f*** are you running for? Huh? What the f*** are you running for?
Let's jump. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so the young guy that was pulled out of the car, his name is Christian Ottinot. I have his information below where you all can take a look at it. His next court date is going to be at the end of the month on September 30th. Let's look at the laws that apply to this situation. First, fleeing or attempting to elude law enforcement. This is found at section 316.1935, section 3A. It says, when you willfully are refusing to stop for law enforcement who are using lights or sirens, and while driving in a manner showing reckless disregard for the safety of others. Here, the arrest affidavit, it tells us that Ottinot accelerated the moment lights and sirens came on. He weaved through lanes, passed in the median, and only stopped after a pit maneuver, and this is all on I-95. Now, the penalty. This is a third-degree felony. This is punishable by up to 5 years in prison, or 5 years on probation, or a fine of up to $5,000. There is some mandatory license revocation of between 1 and 5 years if he's found guilty. Moving on to driving while license is suspended, habitual offender. This is found at section 322.34, section 5. This is defined as driving while knowing your license is suspended or revoked, and also having that habitual traffic offender designation. All right, Ottinot's license was previously revoked, and that's due to multiple suspensions. Yet he's still behind the wheel at the time of this chase. This is potentially going to be a third-degree felony, carrying the 555. All right, 5 years in prison, 5 years on probation, potentially a fine of up to $5,000. Number 3, reckless driving. That's found at section 316.192, section 1A. This is defined as driving with willful or wanton disregard for the safety of people or property. Officers documented speeds of 95 miles an hour or better. There's a red light violation and erratic lane changes across the median. Now, a first offense carries a second-degree misdemeanor. That's punishable up to 90 days in jail, a fine of up to $500. Now, if there's prior convictions, then the penalties increase. Now, there's also there were some items found in the car, some possession of some cannabis. He had less than 20 grams. That's found at 893.13, section 6B. And it says possession of 20 grams or less of marijuana is a criminal offense in Florida. Let's see, looks like they found 0.06 grams of marijuana, some rolling papers, and looks like a smoked roach in the BMW. This is a first-degree misdemeanor, carries up to 1 year in jail, potentially a year on probation, a fine of up to $1,000. Driver's license suspension of 6 to 12 months is mandatory under this charge. There's also a possession for drug paraphernalia. That's under 893.147, and this is at section 5, and it's unlawful to possess items intended for using, storing, ingesting, basically anything that's going to be used to work with a controlled substance. Okay. Here they found a grinder, a rolling tray, and some burnt roaches with residue in the car. That's a first-degree misdemeanor, 111, 1 year in jail, fine of up to $1,000, potentially a year of probation. All right, next, let's move into our evidentiary standards section. Remember, these standards are used and required for everyone if you have to come to court. Okay, let's move through our 6 levels of evidence. We deal with these daily because they're necessary for every type of government action and if we need to bring someone else in the court. All right, let's start at the lowest. We'll work our way up to the highest. First, mere suspicion. Now, at this level, the government and the police, they can't take any action. They just have a hunch that something feels off or something's wrong. Now, until they have some real proof or evidence, there's no action that can be taken. Now, what police are going to do, they're going to take a closer look. They're going to go on high alert. They're going to wait and see. For example, in this situation, an officer might think that BMW looks like it's about to try to run, but that's not enough to justify any action just yet. Suspicion alone can't support a stop. The police need an actual violation. Now, let's move up one level to reasonable suspicion. Now, at this level, the government or the police have specific facts that a crime might be occurring. Now, when Ottinot sped up, the moments those lights and sirens came on, instead of slowing down, and he began to weave through traffic. Now, at this point, officers have reasonable suspicion to make a stop and investigate to see if there's been any actual crimes occurring. Moving up one level, probable cause. Now, at this level, the government and the police have the ability to arrest us. At this level, it means that the police have enough evidence to believe that a crime is being committed and the suspect is involved. Here, Ottinot, he ran multiple red lights. He passed through the median. He refused to stop. That all became clear probable cause for a felony fleeing and also reckless driving. Remember, probable cause is the level where the government's going to arrest someone. Moving up one more level, preponderance of the evidence. Now, this is the civil standard. So if the government or the city that they're in, if they want to sue Ottinot for any damage he caused through the city, the standard is only more likely than not their claim is true. Now, let's say he hit the guardrails or he knocked over a sign while he's running from the police. The question is simply, is it more than 50% likely that Ottinot caused that damage during the chase? If they can say yes, then he'd be held liable and have to pay for the sign. This is all civil territory here when we're just fighting over money. I need somebody to pay for this. Moving up one more level, clear and convincing evidence. Now, this is a higher civil standard and it's used for issues like license suspensions and revocations. Here, dash cam, body cam footage showing this chase combined with the officer's testimony that would easily satisfy clear and convincing evidence. And this level means that it's substantially likely to be true. It takes about 75% of the evidence in your favor to win these types of actions. This is also required for other cases that need more evidence to prove your point. Child custody cases, fraud cases, maybe some claims that are being made to certain agencies also. So this is the level where you need to have more proof. Moving up to our highest level, beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, this is the highest level in the American justice system. That means that there is no other logical conclusion besides the defendant being guilty of the charges that are being brought. Here, a jury must be firmly convinced that Ottinot knew the police were trying to stop him and that he chose to flee. Now, with the radio calls, the stop stick deployment, and the pit maneuver, all captured right there for us to see, I think the prosecution has some fairly strong evidence to meet this standard. All right, next, let's put ourselves on this jury and let's see what we'll do if we were dealing with this case. Now, let's put ourselves on this jury. Now, you just saw the full video, the pursuit, the stop sticks, the actual end, the pit. Now it's your turn. Do you see this as reckless disregard of life? You tell me. Or do you think he was panicked and scared, like he said? Anyways, fleeing and eluding at 95 miles an hour, that's now a felony in Florida. Do you think the prosecution proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Ottinot knew he was being pulled over? Or do you believe his statement about his anxiety and not realizing police were really trying to pull him over? Now, from your own intuition, was this more about avoiding the police because he didn't have a license? Or was it just adrenaline taking over? I think it's more about that license. Okay, also, he was found with a little bit of weed. He had 0.6 grams. I think that's about less than a joint. So you tell me, do you focus more on the weed or you focus more on the dangerous driving? Probably dangerous driving. All right, Ottinot's charged as a habitual offender. All right, so all that means is that he's been caught several times before driving recklessly or without a license, and he's been convicted before. How do you deal with that status? Just someone been named as a habitual offender. Does that change how you deal with the case? Does that make a person seem automatically guilty in your eyes? Now, usually, juries don't find out about those statuses as a person being a habitual offender until later on. You try to find a jury that doesn't know anything about the person or the case, and you tell your jury members to not go search out the person too. So that's how you get a fair process. Everybody comes into it blank, and you let the prosecutor and the defense fill them up with whatever information they will. Let me ask you a final question. Now, if you're deciding on the sentencing here, do you push for more time to try to keep people from doing this in the future? Or do you think about probation and treatment? He's only 24 years old, but that has to be weighed against you almost hit people in traffic. You tell me in the comments below, what would you do? Guilty or not guilty? And why? And also, what kind of sentence? This case shows us how quickly one bad decision snowballs into 5 separate criminal charges. Christian Will Ottinot, he didn't just get pulled over. He turned a traffic stop into felony fleeing. He added some reckless driving in there, and he stacked on a little bitty drug charge. And he was driving all while being labeled as a habitual traffic offender. Now, each count carries its own penalty, and together, they put him at risk for some serious time behind bars. Now, he bonded out that same day. He has his next court date set for September 30th. This is all in Volusia County, and that's where he'll stand before a judge and he'll formally answer if he's guilty or not guilty, and the process will start up. Now, what's the lesson that we take away from this? First, fleeing always is going to make things worse. A suspended license or a small amount of weed, that's usually probation at most, guys, okay? Now, when you add in high-speed chase, wrecked cars, you're looking at felonies here. Second, jurors are humans too. They weigh not just the statutes, but also the behavior and the risk. No one got hurt this time, but the law doesn't wait for tragedy before it steps in. Those near misses often cause new laws to be created. Let me leave you with this. If you were on this jury, would you hammer down on the fleeing charge to send a message? Or would you show some leniency since the damage was limited? Let me know in the comments below. Guilty or not guilty. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share the video with somebody else. Remember, this is Advocacy Alchemy, and I am Professor Ross. I'll see you tomorrow. Everyone have a great day. Stay safe out there.
I order you to subscribe to Advocacy Alchemy and return tomorrow, 8:45 a.m. Central, for another lecture. Dismissed.